Welcome to Untold Physio Stories podcast, your perfect commute resource with physio failures, successes, interesting cases, and more from the physio and rehab world, with your hosts, Drs. Andrew Rothschild and Erson Religioso.
Topical analgesics help patients alleviate pain and reduce discomfort. I recommend and use Helix Professional Pain Relief Creams with my patients. Helix has 3 new creams they've added to their line of topical analgesics. Joining their pain relieving cream is Triactive Therapy Cream, CBD Therapy, and CBD Clinical Creams. My patients have been raving about these creams, and that's why I'm offering you an opportunity to try these in your practice. Email my exclusive promo code MMT2 to Helix at helix4pain.com to receive samples of these new professional pain relief creams and find a medical supply distributor near you. You'll get a starter kit with several samples, patient information brochures, and it's a great way to help patients and grow your practice. Welcome back to Untold Physio Stories. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. E, with Modern Manual Therapy, Edge Mobility System, and our 4-month online mentoring program, Modern Rehab Mastery. Andrew and I were supposed to finally have our long-awaited reunion tonight, but things went awry, so I'm here with another solo cast, but I'm saving that interesting case for when I finally get to podcast with Andrew. So just today, I saw someone who I believe him and also maybe even his father have been in my social media a couple times. They have lateral shifts. That is their lumbar lateral shift is normally what gets them to come in, call me in an emergency. This patient's father, I once spent over 3 hours an emergency visit on a Sunday at his house. And after lots of isometrics, I finally got him straight up. And it was isometrics and seating that finally got him straight, that enabled him to tolerate shift corrections in sitting, then finally shift corrections in standing. Then he was able to do it in standing with significantly reduced pain. And 2 or 3 days later, he was actually back to working out and deadlifting, which I was surprised. I wouldn't have told him to do that. But anyway, that's not even the case. The son actually probably talked about a couple years ago in a podcast. In his late 20s only, he works for a fencing company and has had a history of recurrent back pain, several episodes a year, even in his 20s. He hadn't been able to work out in a long time when he finally saw me. He had an ipsilateral lumbar lateral shift. His pain actually got better instead of getting worse, which was great when I corrected the shift. Gave him kettlebell carries. He was able to straighten out, but not get to a full shift correction on the first day. He recalled to me today that it probably took him several hours of doing shift corrections to be able to go past straight and go into a full shifted correction. But after 2 more visits, he was straight up, and then we identified he had significant lateral chain weakness, and he always knelt on the ground and bent over the same exact way, unloading his spine, kind of promoting the shift to the right that he always had. This time he came in, he said, "Hey, you know what? It's the opposite." And he had a right lumbar lateral shift again, meaning his shoulders to the right, except for his symptoms were to the left. So I thought, oh, this is actually much easier than last time. And he said, yeah, last time you said it was a unique case. And I said, yeah, it was unique. Even in my head, I just think ipsilateral lumbar lateral shift could be potentially very tough. He's never had any neuroscience, which is great. It was always just localized, not even really radiating into his legs. So today, in severe pain, and he had actually gone a couple years since our last bout of 3 to 4 visits a couple years ago. He had gone 2.5 years without having any pain. He got back to the gym. He was working out. However, he basically told me last Thanksgiving, which was, it's April now, so last November, he pretty much, winter came around. He didn't work out as much. He gained 30, 40 pounds and didn't really do his exercises. Then just this past weekend, he picked up sticks at his new 5-acre property for about 3 to 4 hours, didn't really do any kind of extensions or loading after all that unloading. This morning, he woke up with severe pain, 6 to 8 out of 10. And he tried some shift corrections. He was able to get it to go away, but the more and more he worked, the pain came back. Then he started shifting, and so he presented to me today with the right lumbar lateral shift, left-sided low back pain. He couldn't tolerate the shift correction at all. Any kind of isometrics in weight bearing just made it worse. So I just had him lie prone, used some Helix, ISTM on his lumbar spine, some P to A's. That reduced his 8 out of 10 pain to about a 4 to 5. Then I got him into the hips offset roadkill position, so left leg abducted. In that position, he was able to tolerate more to PDAs, and then shift correction with overpressure eventually completely abolished it. He was still very fear avoidant because his pain came back after being gone for so long. He was walking without any pain, and he was even able to go into a full left lumbar lateral shift correction against the wall. So he was very happy, but yet still very afraid. He was swinging his arms, but not rotating his trunk. Still, again, at a 0 out of 10 pain. I was just about to pretty much leave it at that. And then he said, hey, I have this random right upper trap or right rhomboid trigger point that I've been working on. I usually stretch my head away. So I thought, okay, well, might as well, why not kill two birds with one stone? He had limited cervical retraction, side bending to the right. And I tried loading that. The palpation to the right mid-scapular area did not really reduce in tenderness. So I just decided to check his trunk rotation. Uh, After rotating him to the left a little bit, all his lumbar pain came back, very severe. He couldn't stand or sit, so I said, "Hey, okay, let's just try some seated extensions." He was able to tolerate some seated extension. After I gave him some resistance, he pushing back into me flared it up. So then he stood up again, and now he was actually shifted to the left. So that was fluid and unsuspected. It took me probably another hour or so to calm down his pain with just varying kettlebell carries, lots of isometrics, lots of resistance and extension. Finally, by the time he left, we got to the point where he was only at 3 or 4 out of 10 pain. This is after, again, another hour. At this point, I've been treating him about 2.5 hours. My goal at this point was only to get him upright without a shift, able to walk to his truck so he can spend the rest of the day just in prone prop. Prone prop or in extension was the only time he had relief. I tried sustained for about 25 minutes of progressive extension. Again, that got him to about 3 to 4 out of 10. That's what got him even able to leave the clinic. Because earlier than this, somewhere around an hour and a half into the treatment after I had flared him up, I was thinking, is he just gonna have to like lie in my table? Am I gonna have to like carry him to my truck and drive him home and leave his truck in the parking lot? But no, my goal again was to get him at home so he can do a sustained extension. And primarily the goal of any lumbar lateral shift, as Mackenzie always would say, would be to correct the shift. So did I accomplish what I initially set out to do when he walked into the shift? Yes. Should I have left well enough alone by not rotating his trunk? Probably. But I mean, in seated, I only rotated his trunk about 20 degrees. And even though he had 0 out of 10 pain and was able to walk, no problem, with only 20 degrees of rotation and then having severe pain, it probably would have been, maybe even getting into his truck or something would have actually um, caused that pain to come back. So, I taped him into an anterior tilt using rock tape, not to hold him, but to prevent him from going into too much posterior tilt. And his recovery plan was pretty much just to lie prone with heat or ice on his back and do sustain for maybe several hours and then see how he feels, get up as needed. So that was quite a doozy of a case. I had joked earlier in his session before I flared him up that, don't worry that we're going a little overtime because you're not beating the record of my record of spending over 3 hours with your dad. But I almost hit the 3 hour mark. I probably shouldn't have jinxed myself. Let me know in the comments what you would have done in this position, especially if you guys are MDT or Mackenzie trained. So If you have any comments, questions, similar stories, physio failures, let me know. Reach out to me on social media or via email and get on the podcast. As always, make sure to rate Untold Physio Stories 5 stars, subscribe, hit that subscribe button anywhere you listen to podcasts, and please share. And as always, you guys have a good one.